Give me a second, you guys. We're good setting up really quick. So I'll see you guys in just a minute, you guys. 1 second. What's going on, everybody? How's it going? How's it going? Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day it is that you're watching this live. Good evening. How's it going, everybody? Just got off of work and decided to come online and do a quick live really quick. Let me just kind of wait for some people to join in. We got a few people that are in the chat already. So let me just go ahead and say hello to some of our followers. Who's in here? We got Melanie. Melanie, you're in Australia, right? We have Jad, my mod. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Chris Paul, whoa, classmate from high school. What's going on? MacDizzle, you made it. Welcome, 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 welcome. All right, you guys. How's everybody doing? Has everybody gotten their Christmas shopping out of the way? Have we done all of the shopping that we needed to do? You wrapped your gifts, got everything under the tree. I got my pup over here just wanting to play like he hasn't played enough. Hold on, let me see. This guy wants to say hello. Can he say hello, you guys? This is Yoshi, you guys. This is Yoshi, my Shiba Inu. MacDizzle, you're rapping now. Okay, I appreciate it. Well, this is Yoshi, my Shiba Inu. Always wants to be a part of the stream anytime that he can. So, we're going to talk about the Melodee the Melodee Buzzard case, obviously, for those of you guys who have kind of been online on YouTube all day, you guys know that we received some major breaking news earlier today. So we'll kind of get into that. Let me just, you're good? You want to say hi to everybody? You say what you need to say yet? All right, buddy. Let me do the stream and then, all right. Cool, cool, cool. This dog won't leave me alone, but I guess that's a good thing. This guy. You're done. Art Deco, you're done, but you realize you forgot someone. Uh oh. You may have forgot someone, but I hope you guys didn't forget to hit the like button. And if you guys are watching and lurking in the background and you guys aren't subscribed, do me a favor and subscribe. All it does is helps the channel, right? Hey, buddy. Sorry, you guys. He's not normally like this when we start a stream, but he won't let me. He won't let me be on. So I don't know. He might. This guy kind of runs the house. So, anyways, how's it going, you guys? Today we received some really sad news, tragic news that kind of gripped the whole entire nation. And as soon as that news kind of came out, the whole world was kind of listening. So earlier today, authorities in California kind of announced that they have confirmed that the body of 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard, who has been missing for over 2 months, has been found in a remote area of Wayne County, Utah. Her 40-year-old mother, and I'm going to play some music in the background, you guys, because you guys know how I am when it's really quiet. But her mother, Ashley Buzzard, who's 40 years old, has been arrested and charged with first-degree murder in connection with the disappearance and the death of her daughter. You guys all remember this case, right? If you guys are familiar with this case, type a 1 in the chat. This case took place, well, it kind of started earlier on in October. And so I have this timeline that the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office provided earlier during their press conference that we'll kind of review and we'll kind of talk about, and then we'll kind of recap some of the events that have gone on during the entire time that Melodee was missing. But obviously this started off on October 7th when Ashley Buzzard decided to take her daughter Melodee on a road trip. They were last seen, I want to say it was October 7th when they decided to rent their car. They rented a 2024 Chevy Malibu, and they were seen, I think they were seen on surveillance footage renting the car out of Lone Park, California. Let me see, you guys are in the chat. All right, cool. You guys are all pretty familiar with this, right? But yeah, so on October 7th, Ashley and Melodee, they rented a car and they were seen on surveillance footage. Both of them were wearing wigs, and I think it was a little odd for us to see both the mother and Melodee wearing those wigs, right? From there, we knew that the car had traveled through multiple states, and surveillance images, they kind of show like how far they've traveled. I believe they went through maybe like 4 or 5 different states, right? They were crossing state lines, passing through like Kansas and Utah. Let's see what else happened. I want to say on October 9th, I think it was October 9th. Surveillance footage from October 9th captured Melodee with her mother near the Colorado-Utah border, and that is the last confirmed sighting of Melodee alive, right? When Ashley returned home on October 10th, she returned home alone. So now, kind of fast forwarding to December 23rd, the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office put out an announcement today, and they informed us that they arrested Ashley Buzzard on charges of first-degree murder connected to the disappearance and death of Melodee Buzzard. So I want to start off by taking a look at the press conference, right? So this case has been a little weird. So if you guys remember, and I have no idea why I keep getting the mother and the daughter's name mixed up, and it's not fair. right? I should not be doing it. But this case has been kind of wild. It's been a little off. The mother who has come back from this trip, she returned alone, and she has been displaying some very odd and wild, peculiar behaviors. Um, every time that she's in public, she's always wearing a wig. There have been sightings of her tearing down missing persons posters, and at one point, she was arrested on unrelated charges on felony false imprisonment charges, where she apparently held a friend by the name of Tyler Brewer captive. And so she was arrested on that, which later on was kind of, those charges were dismissed. But I want to take us back right now to the press conference that kind of came out. And I do want to let you guys know that the audio isn't that great. You'll probably hear the audio on one side. So if you're wearing headphones, you might want to listen on the left side, because all the clips of the press conference, the audio isn't the greatest. So let's go ahead and start off with the press conference today.
The Buzzard residence in the 500 block of Mars Avenue in the Lompoc area, looking for evidence pertaining to Melodee's whereabouts. Subsequent to the search warrant, it was determined that Ashley had recently rented a car, and video surveillance images were obtained showing Ashley and Melodee at the rental car office, both of them wearing wigs in an apparent attempt to conceal their identity. These images were shared with the public on October the 22nd in an attempt to obtain additional information about their whereabouts. On October 24th, 2025, detectives shared an updated timeline and travel route with the public of Melodee's last known movements along a multi-state round-trip travel route that included California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, Wyoming, and Nebraska, with a return route including Kansas, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, and then back to California. Detectives learned that along this trip, Ashley switched the license plates on the vehicle she had rented to a New York plate, and found out that she would back her vehicle into gas stations in an apparent attempt to avoid detection by their surveillance cameras.
So the mother Ashley, right? It's been mentioned that Ashley may be experiencing some mental health illnesses, and has a history of some mental health. So I don't know if that's displayed, by some of her actions, just kind of wearing that wig, maybe coercing Melodee to dress up in a wig as well to kind of hide herself and disguise herself. Um, but she also tried to change the license plates of her rental vehicle, right? From California plates to New York plates. So I'm really curious, where in the world would you get license plates to swap out? So I'm curious if she had a history of stealing, right? But it's just kind of weird that she had some New York license plates just readily available, ready to swap out at a moment's notice, right? Um, to hide, to be in disguise, to not be detected by any kind of law enforcement. So that was a little weird.
Melodee was last seen on video surveillance with Ashley on the Colorado side of the Colorado-Utah border on Thursday, October 9th, 2025. And detectives now believe that Melodee was murdered shortly after that stop.
So they're saying that they believe that sometime between October 9th and October 10th is when Melodee may have lost her life.
On October the 30th, sheriff's detectives, along with the FBI evidence response team, responded and served follow-up search warrants at the home of Ashley Buzzard, as well as for a storage locker that she had rented, and upon the car that she had recently rented as well. During the search, of the Mars Avenue residence, an expended cartridge case was recovered. During the search of the vehicle, a live round of similar ammunition was located. Detectives submitted the expended cartridge case to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives for inclusion in their national database called NIBIN, the National Integrated Ballistic Information Network. December the 6th, 2025, members of the Wayne County Sheriff's Office in Utah responded to a call from a man and a woman who were taking photos just off the 3300 block of East State Route 24 in a remote part of Wayne County, Utah.
Now let's kind of put that into a little bit of context, right? Because they said that it's believed that on anywhere between October 9th and October 10th, that's when they're presuming that she may have lost her life, right? She was discovered on December 6th, right? So that's October, November, December. Now, if what the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office is saying, that she was killed on October 9th or 10th, she was deceased for roughly around 2 months before she was discovered, you guys. Let that set in, right? For those of you guys that do follow my channel, we've frequently been talking about the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case, and the whole mystery behind her death is how long she was in the frunk of that Tesla. Now, I don't want to talk about that case because this is a completely different topic, and I want to make sure that Melodee gets the time, so then that way everybody can recognize the horrible, tragic things that she went through, and we can pay the respects, right? Because now that she's been discovered, her remains have been found, we can finally get justice for Melodee. But think about it. She's been deceased for roughly about 2 months, and I want to say that, in that time, her body is going to be extremely decomposed, right? So if she was gone for just as long as maybe Celeste may have, and we know that by reports that she was in a very advanced stage of decomposition. Imagine how this 9-year-old may have been when she was discovered.
This couple had discovered the decomposed body of a deceased person off of the side adjacent to West Caneville Road. On December 8th, 2025, a member of the Wayne County Sheriff's Office notified the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office of the discovery of the unidentified found body. Although immediate identification of the deceased person was not possible, it was apparent that the decedent was a female who had died from gunshot wounds to the head. December 17th, 2020.
If I'm not mistaken, earlier when the initial reports came out, they had mentioned that she had died by a single bullet. I could be mistaken, but if I'm not mistaken, I thought I remember hearing that she died by a bullet wound. Now, after reading some reports, I do know that they had mentioned that she had been shot multiple times. So just to know, right, that Ashley Buzzard just had the audacity to kind of off her daughter by shooting her in the head multiple times. That is just a horrible, horrible situation.
25. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives examination of cartridge cases found at the Utah crime scene resulted in a NIBIN hit, linking them to the single cartridge case that was found at the Buzzard residence.
Let's kind of rewind that so we can hear that again.
Cartridge case, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives examination of cartridge cases found at the Utah crime scene resulted in a NIBIN hit, linking them to the single cartridge case that was found at the Buzzard residence. On December 22nd, yesterday, the FBI crime lab notified our agency that DNA analysis had determined that the remains found in Utah were a familial DNA match to Ashley Buzzard. Today, December 23rd, 2025, members of the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Office and the FBI served search and arrest warrants at the Mars Avenue residence and arrested Ashley Lynn Buzzard for the murder of Melodee Buzzard. Ashley was taken into custody without incident, and she was booked at the Northern Branch Jail for first-degree murder, where she is currently being held without bail. While these developments represent important steps towards holding Ashley Buzzard accountable for the murder of her daughter, they do not diminish the profound loss that we are acknowledging today. Because this case is now moving through the court system, there are limits on what additional detail we can share publicly at this time. At this point, I'm going to ask Lieutenant Chris Gottschall to recognize the personnel and agencies whose work in our region was instrumental in this investigation.
So I'm assuming that because Ashley had traveled through multiple states, that immediately brought the FBI into this case for them to just kind of lend their assistance. And I don't know if they were overseeing the entire case. I could be wrong, but I'm sure that the FBI just joined in because the fact that she went cross through multiple states.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good afternoon. This case required an extraordinary level of coordination and commitment amongst all agencies. I want to specifically recognize the detectives who tirelessly worked from the very beginning, including lead detective Joe Oliver, Detective Ruben Esparza, Detective Matt Maxwell, Detective Cliff Kabasig, Detective Thomas Brownlee, and Sergeant Jeff McDonald, along with numerous investigators, sheriff's deputies, professional staff, and support personnel who contributed countless hours to this effort. I'd also like to acknowledge our allied agencies whose cooperation and assistance were essential to advancing this investigation across multiple jurisdictions. A special thanks to our Santa Maria resident agency of the FBI, Supervisory Senior Resident Agent Mike Rusev, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the California Department of Justice, the Santa Barbara County District Attorney's Office, Santa Barbara County Child Welfare Services, the Lompoc Unified School District, and Santa Barbara County Search and Rescue. At this time, I would like to invite Special Agent in Charge Patrick Grandy, executive from the FBI Los Angeles Field Office, to speak about the FBI's key role in supporting this investigation. Thank you, Sheriff.
Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Grandy, and I'm a special agent in charge with the FBI's Los Angeles.
I was totally muted, huh? I was talking to you guys for a whole ass minute and I was muted. Damn. Okay. Anyways, I was just saying, in case you guys have just joined, what we're doing is we're just kind of recapping all the events that kind of took place today. We're recapping the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office press conference that was held in regards to the charges and arrest of Ashley Buzzard, which took place earlier this morning.
Field office. Various FBI field offices in multiple states devoted resources to this investigation, and I can confidently speak on behalf of all FBI employees when I say that our collective hearts are broken as a result of this senseless outcome. The agents in our Santa Maria office, just north of here, worked tirelessly for the past couple of months with the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Office, and this has no doubt affected them as well personally. We were all hoping to find Melodee alive, as you undoubtedly were as well. That said, the FBI will continue to provide resources to the County of Santa Barbara as they pursue justice for Melodee, whether that be laboratory services, running down leads in other states, or other investigative assets. As I mentioned, this investigation spanned multiple states. FBI field offices in Denver, Kansas City, Las Vegas, Omaha, Salt Lake City, San Diego, and San Francisco, as well as numerous other local partners provided resources. In particular, as the sheriff mentioned,
Hold on, I want to play
the
that back
department
really quick
resources.
because they
In
had a
particular,
lot
as the
of
sheriff
help and resources that kind of, you know, was provided to them, so then that way they can help solve this
Sheriff
case.
mentioned.
And unfortunately, it took a little over 2 months for it to get solved. Um, I am thankful that they were able to get to the bottom of it. Unfortunately, it wasn't what we were expecting, right? I I I myself can say that when this case just started, I knew that there was a little glimpse of hope, that the mother was just trying to hide her and just didn't want to provide law enforcement any contact with her. And I think we were all hoping and pulling through that, she could have been alive, right? But I do want to hear the cities that they mentioned that help provide resources and help.
In San Francisco, in Denver, spans.
Sorry, you guys.
As I mentioned, this investigation spanned multiple states. FBI field offices in Denver, Kansas City, Las Vegas, Omaha, Salt Lake City, San Diego, and San Francisco, as well as numerous other local partners provided resources. In particular, as the sheriff
Isn't it
mentioned,
crazy, Foxy?
the Wayne County Sheriff's Department in Utah, and their medical examiner for their dedication to Melodee's remains once they were found.
It's just shocking to all the things that kind of led up to this, right? We remember seeing that, when the mom came home from that trip, that she was removing missing posters of Melodee. We're gonna talk about November 7th when she was arrested, right? But she had that incident where she held Tyler Brewer, one of her quote unquote friends, um, uh, kind of like held him, kind of like kidnapped him, right? Um, kind of, because he tried to press charges, took her to court. She was arrested on felony charges, and then all of a sudden, little weird thing happened. Right? I think the judge discovered, or one of the attorneys discovered that Ashley had everything recorded on a voice note. Right? They went through the voice note and kind of threw out the case. So, there are just so many like twists and turns in this case, and it just made everything so much more weird. I don't know.
Thank you in advance for bearing with me, as I would like to recognize the following agencies that also played a significant role in this investigation. As the sheriff mentioned, it was quite extensive. From the state of Colorado, the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, Colorado Department of Transportation, Colorado State Police, Fremont County Sheriff's Office, Grand Junction, Colorado Police Department.
And that too, MacDizzle. The zoo story, right? She went out there to take her to the zoo. And then we heard the stories about potentially, her being trafficked. It was just odd, right? But why did you have to take her on the trip for, right? I mean, she's in Santa Barbara County. The largest zoo in the world, I think, is in San Diego, if I'm not mistaken. So why drive her across 3 or 4 states to take her to a zoo to meet up with people that you've never met before? Doesn't make any sense to me.
Gunnison
It's just a
Police
little
Department,
odd.
Gunnison Sheriff's Office, Salida Police Department. From the state of Nebraska, the Nebraska State Police. From the state of Utah,
That part
the
too, right?
Paiute
Being
County
left with
Sheriff's
another
Office,
couple
St. George Police Department,
to play.
the Utah State Bureau of Investigation, and the Utah Department of Public Safety. Lastly, I'd like to recognize the media for reporting on this story continuously, and for members of the public who called in tips. We continue to urge anyone with information about Melodee's murder to contact law enforcement. Thank you, and I'll turn it back over to the sheriff.
Thank you. Let me just conclude by saying these remarks. The circumstances of Melodee Buzzard's murder are heartbreaking. All of us who have been involved in this case have been deeply affected by it. We were hoping against hope that she would be safely found. This outcome is deeply tragic, and on behalf of the entire Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office, I want to extend our deepest condolences to those who knew and loved Melodee. I want to take a moment to speak directly to the Meza and Buzzard families who have endured unimaginable pain throughout this ordeal. Their strength, their patience, and their steadfast hope have been evident from the very beginning. No family should ever have to experience this kind of loss, and our hearts are with them today and will be with them in the difficult days ahead. We stand with them and we remain committed to securing justice for Melodee. I also want to thank the members of the media, both you here in our region and those out of state, for your continued coverage, including the conveyance of Melodee's image and the circumstances of her disappearance all across America. Your involvement played a meaningful role in advancing this investigation. To the members of our community who followed this case closely, thank you for your engagement, for your support, and for your willingness to come forward with information. The loss of a child is among the most profound tragedies any community can endure, and that loss is exacerbated when it is at the hand of someone else, and particularly at the hand of the one who should have loved them the most. Today, we stand together in grief, but also with resolve. Melodee deserved a far better life than she had. We will honor her memory.
I'm sorry to cut in the middle of it, but Foxy, you made a really great point, right? You said, notice they have a death date. They must know something very specific. And I agree with you, right? I mean, as you can see right here on the left-hand side, it shows, oh, her birthday's in February too. That makes me so sad. That's my month. That's like 5 days before my birthday. That's so sad. Um, yeah, and you can see that there's, an expiration date, October 9th. So they absolutely have a ton of information and they've nailed it down to the very specific date of October 9th when, her mother shot her multiple times. Can you guys believe that? Multiple times to get shot in the head? I'm just so curious. Foxy, you're on the 14th? No way. No way. You're a Valentine's baby? I know a few people that have their birthday on Valentine's Day, but I don't know. I maybe know like two people that have the same birthday as me. But I'm sorry. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But let's keep going.
By ensuring that every step of this process is handled with care, compassion, and a steadfast commitment to justice. Our investigation does not end here. We will continue working closely with prosecutors and ensure that the judicial process moves forward with integrity. May God bless the innocent soul of Melodee Alani Buzzard, who we will never, ever forget. Thank you, and I'll now turn it back over to our PIO, Rock Kelsey.
We have allotted some time if anybody has any follow-up questions, again, reinforcing the fact that we do have an ongoing investigation and
They mentioned a word earlier that, I've heard before, but never was really so familiar with it, and that was familicide. Maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. I'm probably butchering the complete pronunciation of it. But that is when a parent murders a child, right? And I was thinking to myself earlier, like, what makes this case so heavy isn't just the fact that she shot her daughter multiple times in the head, but it's who's accused of committing the crime, right? Um, the parent. And it's so sad because at 9 years old, this girl had absolutely nobody else in the world to trust, right? From following this case, you guys know that I want to say maybe when was she born? 2016. I think her biological father passed away, so I think he passed away in a motorcycle accident, right? Um, and I think Melody was only 6 months. No, so it had to have been in 2015 when the dad passed away because I remember hearing that Melody was only roughly about 6 months old. I think it passed away in September of 2015. So she absolutely had nobody else except for the grandmother, right? I believe on the dad's side. But other than that, the only parent to raise her was Ashley.
We're trying to balance transparency with seeking justice for Melody. So we do have an opportunity to take just a few questions. Yes, Crystal.
Yeah, I'm just curious to know, do we believe at this moment that Ashley acted alone? Or is there any potential leads that other suspects may be involved?
So the question is, do we believe that Ashley acted alone in this homicide? I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Gottschall. Please step to the podium. Thank you.
And I do have to pause for a second and give a quick shout out to Cindy from sunny South Florida for hopping into the chat. The other night, you'd sent me a Cash App. So I want to say thank you personally and make sure that I address it because I kind of missed the notification that night. But I do want to make sure that I thank you, live in the chat because I do appreciate it. Anybody who donates to my channel, I'm very, very thankful for you guys just taking the time to kind of hang out. So I just want to say thank you, Cindy and Foxy, because Foxy, you sent me one that night too.
Thank you for your question. Our investigation thus far has revealed that at this time, we don't believe that anyone else was involved.
Right here, yes.
Raquel, the sheriff mentioned the approval of cartridges
Foxy.
Yes.
and live rounds.
You
Is
crack me
the
up, Foxy.
weapon in evidence?
So the question is about the location of the murder weapon, if we have that in our evidence or in our possession at this time. I'll turn that over to Sheriff Brown.
Thank you. Yeah, the short answer is no. We do not have the murder weapon yet, but we continue to seek it.
So I'm curious, right? They said they don't have the murder weapon. Obviously, it was a firearm. So I'm curious when she may have gotten rid of it. She obviously didn't come back home, or we don't know that, right? But the firearm wasn't in the house. And I'm assuming that the police, law enforcement served multiple warrants to search the house because I do remember them saying that she's gone back one or two times before in the past, or law enforcement came back one or two times before in the past. So I'm not quite sure. If any of you guys in the chat know how many times the warrant was served, let me know.
I'll come back to you for your follow-up question in just a moment. Go ahead, yes.
Will this case be tried in Santa Barbara County or elsewhere?
Okay, so the question is where this trial will take place. I believe Sheriff Brown will have a response for that.
Yes, the plan is that this trial will take place here since the intent was believed to have been formed here in our county prior to going on this road trip and committing the actual crime.
So we're going to have room for just a couple more questions. I'll volley back here. Yes.
And for any of you, I know early in the investigation, investigators had been out in those various areas along the road trip. Had that area in Wayne County been searched at all?
So the question is if investigators on their initial routes had been through that area of Wayne County. I believe you're asking if we'd specifically probably been to the scene of the crime. I'm going to refer to Lieutenant Gottschall for that.
Thank you for your question. We've been following a ton of leads, looking at a lot of different data and information. It is an expansive area of the United States that we were researching, and unfortunately, we didn't have specific location information until recently. Thank you.
Yes.
When can we expect a mugshot of Ashley to be released?
I'll have you email me on privately on that. We'll proceed with that. We'll take one final question here, and then that'll be a wrap for us. Yes.
Is there a motive that you can share with us at all?
The question is to a motive. If we have one established, I'll have Sheriff Brown cover.
We have not
Foxy, it's
established a motive
Christmas
at this
time. Leave her
point.
alone.
We have obviously established that it is what's known as a filicide.
Filicide.
The slaying of a child, in this case, a maternal filicide. And there's been a lot of study and a lot of discussion about that and what motivates people to do that. But as far as an actual direct motive, we haven't established that yet.
Very quick follow-up. I know that Ashley, you had described her as uncooperative.
All right, I just want to make a correction, right? Because earlier I said familicide, but that's the wrong definition. The correct definition is filicide. So what I said, familicide, is when one person kills multiple people in the family, and filicide is when a parent kills a child in the family. So I made a mistake. My bad, you guys. I'm sorry.
Throughout the investigation, can you describe her demeanor now? Has she spoken or confessed in any way?
Foxy,
Can you
leave him
talk about
alone.
her demeanor now?
Yeah, I can tell you that as of this morning, no, there was no change in her attitude and her demeanor.
So uncooperative.
Uncooperative.
Thank you all very much for coming out and for being patient with us through this process, not just today, but throughout the entirety of the investigation. And again, we really do appreciate the media's coverage of this very important case. And that's going to conclude our press conference for today. Thank you very much.
So I want to kind of review this video. So this is a video from News Nation. This is the Ashley Buzzard secret recording of the encounter with her between her and Tyler Brewer, which is supposed to be one of her friends. So I want to take a look at that really quick, and we'll just kind of recap this, because I remember when this case came out, I never spoke about it in any of my lives. However, I was following this case through other content creators, so I haven't really spoken about this, nor have I watched everything in its entirety unless it was through another creator. So I want to kind of watch this with you guys and get your thoughts on this entire recording, because I do find it really weird that Tyler Brewer pressed charges for false imprisonment, but then also didn't know he was being recorded. And when that recording came out, if you ask me, it doesn't really sound like she took a pair of box cutters out and threatened to, kidnap him. So I want to get your thoughts on this as well. Hold on, let me turn this on.
Mother of the little girl behind her, Melodee Buzzard, who has not been seen in 42 days now. The case
42 days, you guys. Just to kind of put things into perspective, right? 42 is very similar. There's a number very similar to that, and that number is 41. 41 days is when Celeste Rivas Hernandez was parked in the Tesla on July 29th and was discovered on September 8th, right? So there's just a difference of 1 day between what they're talking about and how long Celeste Rivas Hernandez potentially could have spent in the front of that Tesla.
was not tied directly to Melodee's disappearance today, but instead to an alleged false imprisonment of a local paralegal who supposedly wanted to help Ashley find that little girl, but encountered instead an intransigent and very strange Ashley Buzzard.
I need your guys' help, because I remember I was in a live earlier today and I thought I saw that Ashley Buzzard was feeding Melodee like old and expired food. Is that correct? And if that is, can you guys send me whatever article that came out on? Because that is horrendous for her. Like, I just feel like she never paid attention to her daughter. To feed your daughter expired food, that is insane.
Ashley and the paralegal were both in court today. He had claimed that Ashley pulled a box cutter on him and wouldn't let him leave her house. It was a preliminary hearing in Santa Barbara County, but it won't be going any further than this today. And I'm going to get to that in a second, and I'll explain why the judge said no more. We're done. But once again,
We're
I should
done.
note, again in bizarre fashion, Ashley Buzzard was dressed for the occasion today, showing up in court with an overwhelming amount of makeup and her long curly wig pulled back in a ponytail. She was also wearing very baggy pants, apparently meant to hide that pesky little ankle monitor that she
D Lucky, you did hear that as well. Okay, so I'm not tripping.
had
Oh,
been
that's good to know.
forced to wear. This time we got an up close and personal look at it. Despite the high-heeled shoes, the monitor is supposed to be under.
If you guys
those
come
baggy
across it, send
pants.
it to me. If
The
not,
victim in this case,
no
the alleged
biggie.
victim, Tyler Brewer, he had told police that this woman had refused to let him leave her home after Ashley Buzzard had shared some distressing information about little Melodee, the daughter. Information that apparently Ashley wished she had not shared with him. He reported to police that Ashley told him, quote, Melodee was dropped off in Utah, and even named the person, apparently, with whom the child
Mac
had been
Dizzle, you don't like
left.
the heels she wore?
Today, Tyler Brewer took the witness stand and said that he visited Ashley 5 different times between the 1st and 6th of November. That is 5 visits in 5 days. Again, bizarre. But he said on his final visit, that's when things went sideways. Ashley's demeanor changed, he said. She turned confrontational, he said, and combative. And he said he felt threatened. And then it was Ashley's turn to testify, but she didn't. Not really. Instead, her attorney played a recording that apparently Ashley had made herself of the final 3 minutes of this whole confrontation in question. And the 3 minutes, anyway, did not exactly match.
I mean, for her to pull out her phone, right? For her to pull out her phone and to secretly record a conversation that she's having with Tyler Brewer, somebody who has, he's a friend, right? And for him to obviously have a conversation with Ashley about the disappearance or the whereabouts of Melodee, she had to have known something was wrong, right? Cindy said she was very unwell. I think she may have thought that she was protecting Melodee. The same postpartum psychosis causes mothers to kill their baby. Now that's insane, right? Art Deco Rose says, but yes, she had mental illnesses for sure.
What Tyler Brewer had claimed to the police. So I'm going to play this all for you. It's a little, convoluted, a little confusing, but I think you should be able to get the gist of it. Listen for yourself.
I have one mod in here, Foxy, but what do I need? I'm a micro channel. You know, I can deal with it. Nothing wrong with that, right? Right?
And I can't trust you when you're lying. You're flat out lying. You're a really good liar. Like, Tyler. Tyler.
I'm definitely not
Tyler,
to deceive.
Be quiet and listen, please. Look at me. Like, I'm an intelligent woman. I'm 40 years old. You deal with legal stuff. Like, who are you kidding? Tyler.
I can only give you my perspective.
Listen, I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
I understand.
And you need a reality check. If this is on media news, like news talk shows, they're going to be seeing you, they're going to be interested in you. You have to understand that I'm aware, whether you want to admit it or not, you want the attention.
I don't want the attention.
There is absolutely no way in hell that you are not bipolar or have an extreme issue. If you don't realize what you're doing is false advertisement, and there are real legal ramifications, I don't know how you honestly are not worried about being put in jail.
I will like to leave at this moment.
I mean, she can clearly hold a conversation, right? I mean, she wasn't unstable to the point where she couldn't communicate well, right? So I don't know. This whole case is just really, really odd.
Since you're leaving in an uncomfortable way, I want the keys to my house
Yeah, they're right there.
and the storage.
Right there.
Nobody else has keys, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. No one else has keys.
Tyler, genuinely, if you've been here, genuinely to help, I appreciate it. The lies are a lot. And especially if you are genuine and trying to help in your own way, You should be very concerned if they recognize you, because anyone else, like running for district, it doesn't add up. I'm not threatening you, but I'm saying, like, I'm not threatening you at all. I'm trying to help as a friend because I feel like it has.
And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but something is definitely up with this Tyler guy too, right? Because I don't know what he was thinking to be able to press charges on her for false imprisonment, because listen to the conversation. She does not sound um obviously there's something wrong with her, right? But you can just tell in her voice she's speaking calmly. It doesn't sound like she's pulled any weapons or anything that could harm him out of her possession. So it's just a little weird. Cindy said the paranoia drives her actions and it doesn't make any sense to the outside world. Sometimes it may not even make sense to them, right?
Be bipolar or something. Like, I don't think you're grasping.
She literally just
level of-
asked him if he was bipolar. Listen to that, you guys.
Because I feel like it has to be bipolar or something.
Hold on.
Anyone else, like running for district, it doesn't add up. I'm not threatening you, but I'm saying, like, I'm not threatening you at all. I'm trying to help as a friend because I feel like it has to be bipolar or something. Like,
She's trying to help him as a friend. Look at this. This girl's literally working the reverse psychology on him. And he's agreeing. I don't know if you guys heard that in the background, but he was like,
but I'm saying, like, I'm not threatening you at all. I'm trying to
He said,
help as a friend because I feel like it has to be bipolar or something. Like, I don't think you're grasping
It sounds very manipulative to me, if you ask.
of online things that don't make sense.
No, I understand where you're coming from. At this moment, I would like to leave. And I'm more than receptive if you want to call or text.
Cindy, thank you for sharing that in the chat. You know you didn't have to, right? But Cindy said, I have a son that will be 35 on the 27th that has schizoaffective disorder. So I mean, you're dealing with that and you've seen it firsthand.
How do I send you the money of the receipts?
I'm not concerned about any of that. But I'm still very receptive. Should you want to call me or text me, but I've done nothing intentionally to be deceitful.
Oh, Cindy.
I know that's a lot to process. And I know a lot of that doesn't make sense. But I will say this, there was something I heard in there several times. That guy said, I would like to leave now. He also mentioned that she had produced a box cutter. That's the stuff you can't hear. So if she's holding a box cutter and he is repeatedly saying, I would like to leave, it's interesting that the judge decided to throw out the case. Because that's what the judge did when he heard this tape. He threw the case out. He said there was no probable cause to believe that Brewer was terrified or prevented from leaving by force. I'm not so sure I agree hearing that audio. To the contrary, the judge says we hear him leave. Yeah, okay. But if you got to ask several times, there's a box cutter in front of you. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. So anyway, tonight, Ashley's free as a bird, and that ankle monitor we've been talking about, that's a thing of the past. And our Brian Enton is right outside the family's house in the town.
But see, Cindy, and thank you for sharing again, right? You mentioned that even now that he's stable on his medications, he still has paranoid thought processes such as boating, cell phone being monitored, and thoughts are being controlled. And then you continue to say that as a family, he's exhausting to you all, you know? But the difference is you love your son, right? You mentioned earlier that he's been hospitalized multiple times. And I'm willing to bet that you were there by his side for at least more than half of them, right? You still love your son. Uh, I'm just really curious what was going through her head um, when she took this trip. Obviously, the the sheriff's office said that there was intent that started in Santa Barbara. So I'm curious to understand or just even know like what started it all, right? And what led to her pointing fingers at Melody to make her the victim of whatever elaborate scheme that was being developed in her head.
Of Lompoc, California. Brian, first and foremost, great reporting, getting that audio, being in that courtroom today and seeing what transpired. First of all, let me just ask you, any movement at all, now that she's free without the ankle monitor, any movement outside that house? Have you seen Ashley since court?
Yeah, she's back at the house tonight, Ashley. And let me just walk up. I mean, it's dark again here tonight. There's been no activity since she returned from court. Really a free woman, no ankle monitor, no charges. I thought maybe there was a light on in the front window a little while ago, but I can't tell if it's just a reflection. But it's interesting, in court today, it came out that she actually prefers to stay at the back of the house. They talked about this during the testimony with Tyler because she's concerned about the house being bugged and people listening through the front of the house. So that makes sense why we've seen very, very little activity here at the front, Ashley.
Well, and also she mentioned in that audio recording, this is going to be on the news and the talk shows. So maybe she's aware that there's a lot of media
Absolutely
interest and
aware.
coverage. I remember you staking out the Laundries home in Florida, and I believe in Northport, Florida, they also spent most of their time in the back because it was hard to see any activity in the front of the house. Real quickly, there were photos in court of the inside of her home shown today. Can you talk about those?
Yes, and by the way, that audio recording, just remember, this is her recording. She made the recording herself with her phone. She decided to record these conversations with Tyler. So, remember, it sort of seems like she's putting on a little bit of a show
Sorry,
there
you
because
guys.
she knows she's the one doing the recording. In terms of these other photos that came out, they had photos of the door and of the locks. There are 4 locks on the door that Tyler says she locked to keep him inside.
Look at that. There's one. Looks like there's a latch lock right there. 2, 3, and 4. Imagine just being in that house though, trying to get out, and you don't know what lock to start with.
Also a photo of the box cutter on the ground. But it's
Okay.
interesting, Ashley. I sat through the whole hearing and it was long. It was like 3 or 4 hours. And he could never say for sure that she actually picked up the box cutter. And many
Is that supposed to be the box cutter right there? I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at in this photo. And D Lucky, thank you for that. I tried to pull up an interview with the grandmother, so we're gonna take a look at that as soon as
of the
this
things
one's
he said
done.
were, I felt like she was holding me in the
Della
house but
Dank,
wouldn't let
welcome.
me out. She stood in front of me, but then I was able to
shout
get
out
out.
to
So I have
shout out to Della Dank. We've been playing a tag in everybody's live today. Thank you for joining us today.
to say, at the end of the hearing, I was not surprised that the judge threw out the false imprisonment charge. In fact, I kind of expected it by the end. There just wasn't a lot of solid evidence that he wasn't able to actually leave.
It's weird. I heard him say, I'd like to leave now. I'd like to leave now. To me, that's not the kind of thing you say. You just, if you're able to, you just say, I'm out of here. Bye-bye. It was interesting, but it's
Well, I
different
mean,
perspective.
not if there's 4 locks on the door, right? Um, who knows if there's a key that you need to use, you know, just to get out of that house. And we saw that photo of the fireplace and that little set that they had. Who knows? You could have picked that up and used it too.
I do want to ask you about the story I keep hearing that Tyler was somehow working with the police. Is this true? Is this why we were hearing on the recording that you're deceitful, you're lying? I was trying to make out what that was all about.
Yeah, and it was a very confusing hearing on that front, Ashley, because at the very beginning, the judge made clear to everyone involved that they could not discuss anything related to the disappearance of Melodee or the investigation into the disappearance of Melodee. And you can just imagine, I mean, a lot of this had to do with that. That's the whole reason it seems Tyler was at the house and was befriending Ashley and was trying to get information out of her. So every time questions would come out about, like, well, were you at the house? There was a police officer outside while you were inside the house, but they would say, no, you can't go down that road. And he would remind them too, am I allowed to answer this? And they would say no. So we never got a clear picture of whether he was actually working with the police, but it did come out that the minute he left the house and was able to leave, he texted the detective right away. He knew the detective's number, and it came out that the detective was already outside the house doing surveillance on the house while he was inside.
That's weird too, you know, and I can see how I can understand why Ashley, you know, may have had those thoughts in her head, especially if she knew that, um, you know, he was being deceiving, and if he really was working for law enforcement, you know, that could come off to her as really sketchy. I mean, I would probably feel the same way, right? I wouldn't hold that person um, as a prisoner with box cutter. Um,
Speaking of that, is there anybody out there right now? Like, you're facing away from the house and presumably you're facing across the street. Are there detectives or any sort of ghost cars waiting and just watching her movements? Because we're still missing a little 9-year-old girl.
Yes, and I don't want to give too much detail, obviously, on that, but there's clearly still an investigation going on. The FBI is involved, and it seems quiet out here tonight, but there are indications that she is still being watched in some regard. And even, I mean, even the neighbors are coming. I mean, people are so upset with this woman that she won't come out, that she won't talk. And that Melodee is still missing. And people are, I mean, I think there was a sense of comfort that she had the ankle monitor on. For whatever reason, people felt like, okay, they're kind of monitoring her. Now that the charge is thrown out and the ankle monitor is gone, there's definitely some concern.
Yeah, we said earlier it was a sideshow because the big show is, where is this child? For God's sake, what are they doing to find the child or hold her accountable for a child who is clearly not in that house and nowhere that we know? To that end, the child's paternal grandmother, I think it's grandmother Lily, you spoke with her. What did she have to say about everything that happened today and everything that's happening with her granddaughter?
And then after this section, I have another video to show you guys. It's an exclusive interview with the grandmother of Melodee Buzzard.
Yeah, grandmother Lily is very feisty. That is Melodee's grandma on the father's side, and she attends many of these hearings, and she is just frustrated. She keeps saying, why can no one get the information out of this woman about where Melodee is? Why?
Art Deco Rose shared that I was a deputy sheriff here in California for 7 years. We really don't use non-law enforcement as decoys. Too much liability if something should happen to them. Plus, they are not trained. So that's a really good point. So maybe there really is no merit to the fact that he was working with law enforcement. So, Art Deco Rose, thank you for sharing.
Why can't they just force her to say? Unfortunately, they just can't. That's not how it works. But she sits in the hearings. She was sitting right near us. She just watches Ashley the whole time. I talked to her right when the hearing ended. This is what she said.
My son passed away in a motorcycle accident when Ashley was 6 months. So I really didn't know her that much. But she was a good lady. I mean, real quiet.
Did she wear the wigs back then?
No, she had beautiful long hair, never wigs. Now she's wearing a lot of wigs. I don't know what that came from.
What about the makeup?
Never wear that kind of makeup before. She had, I don't know, kind of like more than usual that she ever wore.
What do you make of the wigs and makeup? Like, I mean, since you knew her back then.
I don't know if she's trying to change her personality or I don't know.
And with Grandma Lily.
Cindy also mentioned that she only shares this personal information to help people see that even with a loving, supportive family, you cannot predict nor control others. And I think that's fair, right? Because a lot of the times, especially when you go into a chat during a live, you'll see people immediately blame the family, like the family should have done more. You could have done this, you could have done that. But Cindy from sunny South Florida is speaking from experience and saying that no matter how much you love the person, there's some times where no matter how much you do, sometimes it may not be enough, right? And there's only so much that you can control, and the other part of it you just kind of have to manage and deal with it.
Ashley, I could see her sort of leaning in and listening when they played that full recording. It was interesting because this woman, the mom who's held up in the house, we never hear her voice, and then all of a sudden she has this sort of assertive voice, and was sort of like angry with Tyler, and you could tell Grandma Lily was really, really interested in that.
So was I. I mean, I just perked up right away hearing her voice for the first time. It wasn't what I expected.
Thank you for watching.
Okay, Cuomo. Let's see. I have this interview, and I'm sorry if you guys are seeing this for the millionth time again. I never covered this case. I've always listened to it, but now that I'm seeing it with like a bird's eye view, I'm kind of getting to know this case a little bit more and more. And they also have another one with the family.
As your community reporter in Vandenberg Village. It's been nearly a week since 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard was reported missing. On Monday, I sat down with her grandmother, who is speaking out publicly for the first time. She shares with me warning signs in Melodee's mother's mental health, and also shares a deeply personal message that she hopes her granddaughter will hear. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine.
My name is Crystal. Are you Lori?
Yes.
Hi, Lori. I'm with KSBY News. I've been following along. I can come inside. Lori Miranda says she first learned her granddaughter was missing when law enforcement called asking if she knew where the child was.
Okay, so this I'm assuming may be Ashley's mother. So the person that we saw previously was the mother of her deceased husband.
He said, "Did you know that your granddaughter was missing?" And I said, "Missing?" He goes, "When's the last time you talked to your daughter?" I said, "I don't know, 2
Thank you, Mac
years,
Dizzle.
a year and a half ago."
The search for Melodee began last week when authorities were notified about
appreciate
her
you.
extended absence from an independent child was.
Oh, sorry about
He
that.
said,
Let me just answer that question real quick. Della Dank. Yeah, so apparently the husband had passed away in a motorcycle accident in September of 2015. So when that happened, Melodee was only 6 months old. And I think ever since that happened, the two families kind of drifted apart. So I'm not sure if the grandmother, the paternal grandmother, was very much involved in raising Melodee. So but that's as much as I know. I don't know if there's information more about it elsewhere, but from what I've learned today, that yeah, he passed away in September 2015.
"Did you know that your granddaughter was missing?" And I said, "Missing?" He goes, "When's the last time you talked to your daughter?" I said, "I don't know, 2 years, a year and a half ago."
The search for Melodee began last week when authorities were notified about her extended absence from an independent studies program. Investigators say her mother, Ashley Buzzard, has not been cooperating and will not say where her daughter is. Miranda says Ashley's mental state had drastically declined since 2016, raising red flags around the time Melodee was 6 months old. Miranda said she was planning to drop by her daughter's house when Melodee was only an infant. That's when she got a call from authorities.
About 50.
So, Cindy, you had mentioned that you guys have the Baker Act, right? And because you're in Florida, that's one of the acts that are in Florida. Out here in California, we have what is called a 5150, right? Which is kind of like a medical hold that they place patients on. And for you to be placed on a 5150 hold, there's only two types of people that can place you on a hold, and that would be either law enforcement that can initiate that hold, or a medical professional like a doctor, psychiatrist, right? And then for the 5150, there are three categories that you have to kind of, you have to not fall under, but there's one of three things that you have to kind of have or exhibit in order to fall under 5150, and that's a DTO, DTS, and GD. So basically, that means a danger to self, danger to others, or gravely disabled, right? And then to fall under the category of gravely disabled, there's 3 additional things, right? So gravely disabled essentially just means that you're unable to provide food, shelter, and clothing for yourself, right? So those are some of the things that would qualify as 5150, right? So the 72-hour hold where you're under, the supervision of a doctor, right? A lot of the times, if you go through that 72-hour hold and they believe that you do need additional supervision, that hold can be extended for, if it is extended from 72 hours, I believe it goes up to a 14-day hold, and that's classified here under a 5250.
15 minutes later, a sheriff calls me. He says, I'm at your daughter's house in Orchid, and I was just getting ready to take your granddaughter Melodee with me to CPS because we're getting ready to take your daughter to the hospital.
When Miranda arrived, she says the house was a mess.
Couldn't believe it was my daughter. I mean, the house was in disarray. There were raw eggs in pans. There was rotten food in the fridge that I think she was trying to give my granddaughter.
Okay, so here is probably where a lot of that information came out, where Melodee was given or fed expired food, right? And that's so sad to hear, right? That means that whatever Ashley was going through, she had no wherewithal to go out and buy groceries, right? Throw expired food away in the trash because she probably didn't even realize that the food in her refrigerator was going bad. And then to top it all off, you didn't even, maybe unless she did, right? But that's a whole other story. But she fed that expired food to Melodee, which is insane to me.
Still, she claims Ashley struggles mentally.
Everybody's dragging her around when she should be at the hospital. And you should be talking to her there instead of everybody rattling her cage and then trying to act like they're trying to help.
In this latest investigation involving Melodee's disappearance, investigators believe Ashley drove her daughter to Nebraska in a white Chevy Malibu earlier this month, more than 1,070 miles from her current Vandenberg Village home, before returning to California.
We want the public to think back to the 7th to the 14th. Did you see a mom and a daughter in this vehicle?
Miranda says she has family as far as Ohio, but does not know anyone in Nebraska. Because this case crosses state lines, the FBI is now assisting.
If we have circumstances that indicate that there was something else criminal that has occurred in the process of that, then, it of course shifts. But as of right now, we are searching for a missing person.
And that was the lady that we saw earlier in the press conference who was taking and answering, or not, she was just taking all the questions.
Miranda showed me a gift she wanted to give Melodee on her 9th
she got her
birthday
little
back in
telescope.
February.
The psychologist that I was seeing said, I said, should I be keeping these things? I keep buying them for her for Christmas and her birthday. She said, if you keep them for her, she'll know that when she was gone, you were thinking about her. So that's why I keep them. But sometimes I wonder, am I going nuts, right?
And this was her message to Melodee.
Please tell somebody I'm Melodee Buzzard. My grandma Luna is looking for me. Please call the police.
If you have seen Melodee, Ashley, or the white Chevy Malibu they were seen driving in between October 7th and October 14th, you're asked to contact the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office. Investigators are also asking those who know anyone in Nebraska to share images of Melodee in an effort to locate her. In Vandenberg Village, Crystal Bermudez, KSBY News.
It's just really sad that there's not a lot of resources out there for the for mental health. And working as a nurse, it's hard, right? I used to take students to some of the psych facilities out there. Some have been for geriatric patients, and then a few of them have been for all ages. And out of all of the different clinical rotations that we've been to, mental health seems to be the least enjoyed by a lot of my students, right? And it's because it's something that they're so unfamiliar with. It's so random at times that a lot of the students kind of fear for their safety, right? So it's not really a field that they ever want to go in after they finish school. And I just feel like, that kind of trickles down after they get their licenses and they move on to working as a professional. Very rarely do you find a person who wants to go into mental health and continue to, work in that field. So, I mean, I just wish there was a bigger focus on it because there's definitely a need for it. I do want to kind of jump back, right? Because there is an interview from News Nation between Ashley Banfield and Tyler Brewer. This was the gentleman who was the one who pressed charges on Ashley Buzzard for the false imprisonment. So let's go ahead and check that out too. Again, I apologize if you guys have seen this before. This is my first time having a bird's eye view over this stuff. So thank you guys for hanging out.
Blur of craziness. I don't know of any other way to explain it. In short, she ended up going on a road trip at the instructions of individuals that she barely even knows, and I question if she even knows them really at all, in efforts to drop Melodee off with them, apparently some location in Utah. She had said that it was a couple that she met at a zoo. This couple had a daughter that's Melodee's age that she wanted Melodee to be able to play with.
Okay, so during this interview, I don't know if you guys noticed, but he is clearly marketing something here, right? You can see on his shirt, he's wearing a Brewer legal t-shirt. Nice try, dude. Really nice try to get in that, little piece of marketing because you're going to be on TV, right?
But she doesn't know these people's names, their address, their phone number, their location, nothing. It's bizarre. It makes no sense.
It particularly makes no sense that Ashley Buzzard would say, I don't know this couple that I met at the zoo. I don't know their names. I don't know their address. I don't know their contact information, when apparently she was making contact with them. And can you describe what she said about the contact she made with them and how the plan kept changing about the drop-off of Melodee?
She wouldn't go into too much details because she was very paranoid that the house is bugged, and she still wasn't really trusting me that much, as we discovered on that Thursday that she decided to confront me, or whatever you would want to call it. She didn't make it clear of how she communicated, especially when she was saying she didn't have accurate phone numbers for them. She also didn't make it clear. She said that she knew the woman's name of the couple, and that she looked on white pages and verified that there was someone.
White pages, you guys. When was the last time you guys ever used the white pages or the yellow pages for that matter? Wow. So I'm curious, like, if she is, nursing, we use this thing, we measure, you know, when we do our assessments, we assess patients for their alert and oriented. And I'm just curious to know if, like, she's oriented to reality, like she's up to speed with the times, right? But if she's currently using the white pages, I don't know if she's still living a few years back or not.
By that name listed on the white pages. Okay, well, if someone's called John Doe, there's probably 20 John Does throughout the nation. So it's the fact that she trusted and believed some stranger that she randomly met at a zoo to care for her daughter, and trusted what she said was true without checking ID, without checking where she lives, without going to the house, without verifying where Melodee was going to be sleeping. It's just mind-boggling for me. And
well, to say the least, without getting a contact phone number to call her back. And again, I'm still perplexed by the details, Mr. Brewer, about, and I think you correct me if I'm wrong here, that Ashley Buzzard said to you that this woman kept changing the drop-off details, kept changing the plan. Is that true?
Exactly. And that's why she ended up in Nebraska and all these different places, because they kept changing. Was like, oh, no, meet us here. No, meet us here. Then meet us maybe Utah, wherever she ended up last with Melodee. was the final drop off. So they kept changing it because apparently this couple, this individual, this whoever was paranoid of the government and being followed and spied on. So they wanted to make sure that if Ashley was being tracked, then it would be harder for them to be tracked, changing all these different locations. And I know how weird and bizarre this sounds, but this is just the information that I was provided. And whether it's true or not, this is what she relayed to me.
I mean, that's a whole other question, whether what she told you is true. It sounds so manic. And also, how is she communicating with a woman multiple times to change drop-off locations if she suddenly says, I have no means of communicating with said woman?
And she said that she originally had a phone number for them and she no longer has it because they ended up either disconnecting it or it was a text now number or something similar. And she was told that when she got home, Melodee would start calling her. And it's been 45, 50 days and still no phone call as of November 6th.
And that was the plan, to be clear, that this couple, again, that Ashley Buzzard told you she met them at a zoo and made this plan to drop her 9-year-old daughter off with them. And that they'd have a daily contact with Melodee. Did she say why? What was the whole purpose of getting rid of her daughter to this mystery couple in the first place?
Without going through too much detail with her medical history, she had
Why not?
So she has a surgery coming up. And
this part was weird too, right? Just listen to this, you guys. I just found this one really, really odd.
She told me what it is. It's an outpatient surgery that you're going to be out for the day. It's nothing. But in her mind, it's something that Melodee needs to be away from her for at least a month or two, an effort for Ashley to do the surgeries, the medical care, and get back on her feet so she could take care of Melodee.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe.
Okay, enough, Cuomo. Incognito, welcome. How's it going? What else did I have? I think we watched this. Did we watch this? Which one is this? Exclusive interview with the grandmother. Okay, so these are 3 different press conferences. I wanted to see if there was anything else on this. Hold on. News Nation had another interview. Let me see. Which one is it? News Nation. Sorry, you guys, I didn't have this one pulled up. Where is it? It said that they interviewed another family member. Let me type it in. Oops. Also want to just share this, right? Missing persons hotline. So in the event that, you might know somebody that is missing, for immediate help, call your local police department or 911. There is no 24-hour waiting period to report a missing person. For specialized assistance, contact the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. That's 1-800-843-5678 in California. Let me see. Okay, buddy. Okay. I think I might have to take him out for the bathroom. So let me find this interview really quick. Where is it? Let me just play this video really quick for you guys. I'm gonna have you guys just watch it. An Amber Alert for this specific case when it happened. I don't necessarily think there was, but I could totally be wrong. I don't know. Somebody check that out though and let me know if there was. I'm gonna play this video. It says video of Ashley Buzzard arrested, and I believe it's from today. I'm just gonna take my dog out really quick to use the bathroom.
But it took until yesterday for DNA analysis to identify Melodee. The DNA from the body matched Ashley Buzzard's DNA. Then, through good old-fashioned police work, detectives matched gun cartridges from the crime scene to an expended cartridge in Ashley Buzzard's house. But the actual murder weapon has not yet been found. This afternoon, Buzzard was booked into the Santa Barbara County Jail, where she's being held without bail. There's a lot more to how this case was solved and what's next in the legal process for the accused killer. Let's go first to News Nation's Nancy Liu, live outside the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department. Nancy, what's the latest on the ground there?
Yeah, Sarah, there is such a sense of sadness throughout this community because for months, people are holding out hope that Melodee Buzzard was out there alive. But today came that tragic news that her body had been found in Utah. And this coming Christmas week, no less, adding to the tragedy. Sarah, we obtained from a source of mine some exclusive video from inside of Ashley Buzzard's house. We want to show that to you. And in watching this, I'm really taken by that little white chair, obviously Melodee's chair. This video was taken right after Ashley Buzzard was arrested this morning. You can see how disheveled the house is. It's
Foxy,
not
do what you
clear
gotta
if
do.
that's how she kept it, or if that is
That's
from a law
that's some stuff you got to
enforcement
deal with.
search
So handle
after
that.
her
Thank you
arrest.
for
But you
being
see
here,
the
though.
couches upended there
Oops.
and the house in disarray. Also from a source, we obtained outside the house video of a prayer vigil that the family, some relatives and some acquaintances, they held right outside of the house following the arrest of Ashley Buzzard. Relatives talking about how Melodee is now reunited with her late father in heaven. So just a horrible, tragic ending to the search for Melodee Buzzard, and just added tragedy coming this week of Christmas. Sarah?
That's really what we all feared this would come down to. What else have you learned about the investigation?
Yeah, throughout the news conference, I was able to ask a few questions to the sheriff here, Bill Brown, and he used the words heinous, heartless, cold, and calculated in talking about what unfolded. And law enforcement, they laid out a very clear timeline.
And that's a great question, right, Incognito? Why not just, if you're not in the mental capacity to continue to raise your child, why not just give her up to another family member, right? What was the reason that you needed to drag her all the way across multiple state lines to feed into whatever voices you were probably hearing in your head just to commit this heinous act on her, right? She was only 9 years old.
Of how things went down, going through.
Art Deco, if she was no, actually, no, I do not believe she was homeschooled, because if I remember correctly, she had missed an extended period of time for so long that it alerted the school, and they ended up filing a missing persons report. And because of that, I think that's when they decided to kind of look for her, right? And I think that's how this case kind of unfolded. She was just missing so many days of school.
Through that mysterious, spontaneous road trip that Ashley Buzzard took Melodee on. But I was able to ask the sheriff, is Ashley now being cooperative? We've heard about how uncooperative she.
So just to clarify, because I was taking notes as all of this stuff was happening, I was just kind of putting this story together for myself. And I wrote, a school administrator notified authorities on October 14th after noting that Melodee's prolonged absence triggered a formal missing person investigation. And I think People magazine also reported on that as well. So law enforcement classified Melodee as an at-risk missing child, and the FBI joined the investigation as agencies worked to trace the trip and locate her.
He's been throughout the investigation, throughout the search for Melodee. And the sheriff told me that Ashley is still uncooperative. She did not resist arrest. You can see she has her natural hair. She wasn't wearing any of her wigs when she was arrested this morning. But we
That
know
is
that
some footage.
Ashley still not being cooperative. But Sarah, you mentioned good old fashioned police work. It's clear that multiple law enforcement agencies work together in building this case against Ashley. And obviously a very lucky break, December 6th, with that couple finding the human remains in Wayne County, Utah.
You know,
Sarah?
Nancy, she was arrested before for something for false imprisonment of that Tyler guy and then let go, and she was still uncooperative. So clearly arrests don't really...
Okay, so D Lucky in the chat said she was homeschooled. So if that's the case, that's something that I'm not familiar with, or that I haven't heard before. But if she was, Deladank said, or oh no, Incognito said, for FBI to jump in that quick, something there was iffy. Apparently she had cut off her from everyone in the family, etc. So that could be what happened. She never logged on to school this year, if I remember right. Wow, so the entire year, right? Schools start now, what, in like late August, early September? So she hadn't logged into school for the entire year. She was probably what, third grade, right? So if she hadn't logged in the entire year of school from September to what, October? Yeah, something is definitely wrong. But then it makes me wonder, why did they wait for so long, right? Why didn't they say something the first couple of weeks when she didn't attend, or maybe attendance wasn't submitted or work wasn't done? Why wasn't something like why wasn't authorities alerted earlier than that?
muscle her into cooperation. Where is she tonight, and what's next for her? When do we get her arraigned in court?
Yeah, she is behind bars at the Santa Barbara County Jail. We know she'll remain there until she's arraigned. She's not in the court system yet. The sheriff today mentioned that she'll be facing
some as
first-degree
early as
murder,
early
likely.
August. Wow.
But she's not in the court system yet. We don't see a court date for Ashley Buzzard, but she is in the jail system, and we know that she will be in court shortly. So we don't know, because of the holiday schedule, whether that will happen.
Thank you for watching.
Okay. And then the last thing I want to show you guys is a video. It's again another News Nation video. It says Melodee Buzzard's mom ripped down missing posters of her 9-year-old. So I believe this is an interview with some of her family members. So let's go ahead and pull this up really quick. And I'll bring this over. And I think this one's 11 minutes, you guys. I think after that, we'll probably call it on tonight's episode.
Corinna Meza is Melodee's sister, and Elizabeth Meza is Melodee's aunt. Thank you, both of you, so much for being with me tonight. Obviously, there's a lot of breaking information that's happening, and this search is going on right now at Ashley Buzzard's house. There's a canine search at the house. They're searching a storage locker. They're also searching the rental car. Are police or authorities keeping you in the loop as to any of what's going on?
Not really. We spoke to the news girl that's been following it. She called and just let us know what was going on, and that Ashley was actually not arrested or detained. She was moved out of the home so they could search. But as far as detectives, we've called, left messages, and they haven't returned any calls. So we've been in the dark.
So What do you make of this?
So they did wait a
imagery that
long
we've
time
got
to
now?
check up
The
on her.
FBI is there. We've seen plainclothes police officers showing up and taking her with a packed bag in a van. Do you have any idea what might be going on here?
That is true. The reports did mention that they did discover her remains on December 6th, which was what's today, the 23rd. So a little over 2 weeks ago is when they discovered her. But I believe they needed to, because she was found in Utah, Utah had to relay the information. Um, and it's weird that they may have just put that together and just made sure that they contacted Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office, let them know that they have an unidentified body, which they probably did DNA tests in order to identify her. But again, right? So she was what, 42 days missing from the day that she was discovered. um, they were still able to do DNA test on her, right? To be able to identify her and determine who she was. I believe I also remember hearing that upon discovery, they were able to identify her gender, which, if you guys recall, with the David and Celeste Rivas Hernandez case, they couldn't even tell her ethnicity or her gender when they discovered her body. Could be the fact that her body was so severely decomposed, or the fact that you know um, she was dismembered.
No idea. I mean, they must have probable cause to, be searching, obviously. Maybe she said something. I mean, I don't know. It's all speculation at this point. We're just waiting for her to let us know where Melodee is so we could bring her home safe.
I mean, that is the goal of everyone. The police who are working on this, the neighbors who are keeping an eye on what's going on out in front of that house. There was that other video that I just played early on about showing Ashley Buzzard taking down all of those missing child posters that were out on the front, front sidewalk out in front of her house. It just breaks my heart to see video like this, and I can't imagine what this is like for you guys.
I was thinking about it too, right? Earlier during the press conference, one of the people in the audience had asked if they understand what the motive is behind this, right? And they had mentioned that at this point, they haven't established what the motive is. And I think what's crazy um, is that obviously there's no like publicly stated motive, and I feel like the uncertainty at this point is often what is like the hardest for people like myself or the public to process, right? I've been in a ton of lives today just watching this case unfold. In fact, I was one of the people who let one of the larger content creators know that this case had broke this morning. And yeah, after watching so many people break the news on their lives, you know the question that I kept seeing is why. And I just realized, like, to process this information, it's so hard to do because we all want to know why, but we may not even get an answer to that, right? Not knowing why just kind of often weakens the case, at least for what we feel, right? It kind of reminds us that some acts just kind of they don't kind of make sense, right? A lot of this stuff just doesn't make any sense. And so the absence of a motive kind of lessens the harm or the responsibility, or does it? Right? I don't think it does, right? The absence of a motive doesn't lessen harm or the responsibility. And you know what? After today breaking the news of the discovery of her body, it's no longer where is Melodee, right? We can now move on and say justice for Melodee. So I think that's a part that I'm comfortable moving forward with, is getting justice for her.
Yeah, it was extremely hard to watch that because, I know my niece went out there, my mother-in-law and family members, and put signs up there, not only for the community to see it, but for Ashley to remember, you know, that you have this beautiful daughter and we want her back. We want her safe. And for her to just rip them down like they didn't mean anything, it's heartbreaking.
So I'm curious about what you said about those who set those posters up. Do you know specifically who put the posters out that she's tearing down?
Deladank, you said Flo. That's wild. Now that you mentioned it, now that you mentioned that, because the little girl was exposed to the outdoor conditions and Celeste wasn't. So why couldn't they identify her? Makes me hella question, right? And yeah, I don't. The Celeste Rivas Hernandez case, you know, in case any of you guys are following it, has been probably one of the most um, complicated cases that and this thing hasn't even gone to trial yet, right? Um, that case just has so many twists and turns, and I feel like every day that you wake up, you're learning something new about this case. You're learning something new about David. You're learning something new about the internet, social media. It just gets more wild and wild every day that goes on, and there's no arrest that's made. But yeah, the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case is just really crazily twisted. I can't even comprehend, right? And I've seen some things that haven't even been out on the internet yet, and you know, I can just tell you, like, I'm shocked at some of the things that even I've seen. But yeah, it's really weird. But yeah, it begs the question, right? If Celeste Rivas Hernandez was in the frunk of a Tesla for no less than 41 days and they were unable to identify her, what difference did it make with Melodee Buzzard being in outdoor conditions for 42 days, right? So I'm curious. Obviously, the area in which they were at are completely different. I don't know how the weather was the past 42 days in Utah. But we do know, like, how the weather was out here in LA those 41 days that she was in that frunk. So it is I mean, obviously everybody's different, right? But the decomposition process isn't. So it makes me wonder, was Celeste gone for longer than that? Who knows? Yeah, I'm pretty
Not like
sure, D Lucky, that
exactly
the
which
weather is
ones.
probably a lot
My
colder in
niece
Utah.
Karina did. Mm-hmm.
I myself did put a poster up.
So do either of you know if Ashley put any of those posters up? I mean,
Sydney,
it's her
welcome.
daughter, and I've been in this business a long time. You cannot keep a mother away from the press or police.
And
when
in
their
this video,
child
you
is
guys
missing. They're
see here,
clamoring for attention.
you guys can see that the mom, Ashley Buzzard, is removing signs, and I think they're missing signs of Melodee. So you can just see her. We're just gonna rewind it really quick. She's removing them.
That she's tearing down.
Not like exactly which ones. My niece Karina did. Mm-hmm.
I myself did put a poster up.
And you can just see her tearing them down for whatever reason.
Do either of you know if Ashley put any of those posters up? I mean, it's her daughter, and I've been in this business a long time. You cannot keep a mother away from the press or police when their child is missing. They're clamoring for attention. They're clamoring for information.
Mm-hmm.
They're handing out the flyers themselves. They are not tearing, signs down.
Yeah, no, she did not put any of those up. She didn't, but she ripped them all down.
It's really distressing to see that. And again, here's this other video of the van showing up with the officers. Are the neighbors able to give you any further information about what they could hear? Because you can see some of the neighbors out front there, and they're sort of within earshot of what's happening. Were they able to shed any, information about what happened when these officers? Well, I'm going to just call them what appear to be officers, because we don't know for sure if they're officers. But did you hear anything about what was said?
Like the conversation that they had with her?
Well, either the
We didn't
conversation
hear
they had with
anything.
her, or could anybody hear out on the street or the sidewalk what these officers were saying when they were on location?
Oh, no, I haven't heard of anything. what they were talking about or to her. No, they wouldn't. The officers wouldn't even respond when they were asked what agency they were from. They wouldn't even respond to the question.
And no one could overhear what was being said to Ashley, either as they were arriving or doing this, taking her out?
Not that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm. So, Corinna and Elizabeth, let me know about the past, because this is not the first time that that Ashley Buzzard has had troubles and has had Melodee taken away from her. Can you walk me back to those days and what happened, when it was, and what the circumstances were when Melodee was taken away from her?
I'm not sure on like the exact reasons why she was taken away. I can only speak on when I talked to Ashley previously on why her other child was taken away. But as far as why Melodee was, I'm not sure. I was told it was because she attempted suicide and her mental state was completely unstable and it was just declining. And so that's why she was taken away. But that's what I was told.
And Corinna, as her sister, this has got to be so heartbreaking. I think I've read accounts in the past that you have made overtures, you've knocked on the door, you've asked if you can help, if there's something that you can do, if your sister Melodee has everything she needs. Can you walk me through some of those experiences?
Yeah, so I just been trying to make contact with Ashley to get answers and hoping that she would tell me something as to where Melodee may be or if she's okay.
And did you get any kind of response at all?
No.
What happened when you knocked on the door? Would she actually come to the door? Would she talk through the door? Would she open the door? Like, describe for me what your interactions were like.
So there was one interaction that I did have with her. Going to the door, I was knocking. I waited for her to come out. I was probably there for about 30 minutes. She finally came out to do the laundry, and that is when the news reporter caught it on camera that I went and spoke with Ashley, asking her if she's okay, if Melodee's okay, if there's anything I could do for them. She did not answer any questions regarding Melodee, only to let me know that everything has been hard on her and her mental health, and that she didn't appreciate all the attention she's been getting, and the fact that I was there and knocking at the door when she didn't want to answer.
Did she seem hostile towards you?
No, she doesn't really have like much emotion. Like very just straight face, like no emotion at all.
Elizabeth, this notion that Ashley took Melodee, if the surveillance pictures are what we hear they are.
You guys, I don't know if we really need to see the rest of this interview. You know, it's just really the family just kind of pointing, you know, a lot of the negative things that they've seen, which it's not pointless, but you know, at this point, we do have an arrest. Her body was discovered. We do now know exactly where she is. We do know that she's no longer alive, and that's not something that we can change. But I do kind of just want to end on this, right? So, from what was publicly released, obviously the evidence kind of appears, um, you know, it appears substantially premeditated, right? And it kind of points to intentional actions um, rather than something that was like impulsive and on the spot, right? Because obviously she went from state to state. But the arrest kind of it just kind of represents the essential steps in getting to accountability, right? Though no legal action or outcome can kind of undo the harm that's been caused, this is also a reminder of the importance of being vigilant, right? Um, Shout outs to the school administrator who raised the concerns. Um, it's just a reminder that early reporting matters, right? If they waited until October to report that and she started school in August, that just kind of tells you how important it is to report things and not wait. Um, Community awareness, right? If you're a neighbor and you notice that there's kids around and you don't see them anymore, right? Or it's been a while, you should be concerned, right? Children, they depend on the adults to be the nice person, to do nice things. So I just want to kind of end on some final words that I wrote a little earlier for Melodee. Melodee, rest in peace. You deserved safety, love, and a future. To the paternal families, especially those who've spoken publicly through their grief, my deepest condolences. May the truth bring clarity, and may Melodee's memory be honored with justice. And to everyone watching or reading this, hold your loved ones close because life is very fragile. That's going to end it for me tonight. However, I don't want you guys to leave just yet. I'm going to put a link down in the comments, and I want you guys to click on this link, and it's going to take you to a live of my good friend Mark the Shark, who is actually currently doing a deep dive on the D4VD case. So I'm going to place the comment here, or the link in the group chat. Click on that link when you get to the room. Let them know that FloJo sent you, because I'm going to be there right now, right? So I will see you guys there. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys another time. Thank you guys. Click the link because we're going right there. Take care, you guys.